Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm your host, Bob DeMarco. Coming up, the most awaited Tempest Pinion. We're going to take a look at that. The Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway of an Off-Grid Knives Warncliffe Blackout Rapid Fire. And then we're going to talk about stupid knife stories. Speaking of stupid, I couldn't even get that open out. Stupid knife stories. I got a bunch of them, but I'm pretty sure you guys have some too. So send them in here. I wanna read them out. And I just basically need to know that I'm not the only one who, for years and years, has been victim of my own knife love. Ground Fog, good to see you here, Ground Fog. I don't recognize that name, but it's a pleasure to have you. Christoph Wilhelm, good to have you here. Christoph, what's up against the Pinion for Budget Knife of the Year? What's up against the Pinion for Budget Knife of the Year? I don't know. I think I'm the wrong person to ask at this very moment. I see some budget knives that I like, but none that I would call of the year like I would this. I'm loving this knife. Dave, how's it going? We have Dave, this old sword blade reviews, who just sent me an epic box of knives that you will all be the beneficiaries of. That's a hard word to say. He sent me some knives for giveaways, some real buttes and some exotic gems. So I'm looking forward to getting these out in your hands. I've been hearing people say Urals's a lot. Of course, that's incorrect, but I am looking forward to getting these knives in Urals's hands. Byron Kennedy, good to have you here. Howdy, the Knife Junkie, Bob D, Jim, and junkies of the Blade Store at Thursday Night Knives. Byron, it's always a pleasure to have you here. I was just telling Jim about a comment you made recently that made me chuckle. Have a nice day. Good to have you here. Got your sogs all arrayed around you. Hopefully you're honing and oiling them. Chris, we got Blade Ogre with us. Chris, how you doing, sir? Can't wait to find out the 8 knives you had on you today. Top Dog 8764. What's up, knife peeps? He says. That dog looks scary as hell, like a hellhound, perhaps. Speaking of scary as hell, I've been carrying this in the old backpack just in case I need like a short sword on the go, because this takes the space of a fixed blade knife. But man, you get a lot more out of it. I'm going to put this under the knife cam for a sec so you can gaze upon its beauty. Aberdeen Blades, good to have you here, sir. Hello, junkies of knives, he says. Yes, junkies of knives. That's what this gathering of eagles is all about. Will B, how you doing? Will B stands to win an off-grid knife tonight, as he is a gentleman junkie. Thank you very much for your support, sir. Bob, Jim, Dave, Byron, Ogre, Havd, Christoph, and then fist bumps or beers. I can't tell what those are. I think I am striking emojis from my life completely, except when communicating and sending kissy faces to my wife and daughters. I think that's the way for me to go. I think it's the eyes where I'm like, is that a fist bump or are those beers clanking together? It's like, Sonny, can you read this emoji for me? You know, I'm just not ready for that. So I'm going to quit using them all together. Blame Dexter. Good to see you. I've had a supremely shitty day, he says. Thank you for streaming, Bob. Well, Blame Dexter. I'm really sorry to hear that. Let me show you a really cool knife. Hopefully this will cheer you up. It's a cool knife in a beautiful sheath. Now this is I've been beginning to think again. My mind has been turning back to the Filipino blades. So I unearthed my Espada y Daga from traditional Filipino weapons and the beautiful leather sheaths my brother made for them, all set up for various types of carry. And look at this sucker. Look at this. How can you have a bad day when you're gazing upon such beauty? But in all seriousness, sir, I hope it turns around for you in the evening. Sometimes that's all it takes, is a change of atmosphere and, change of environment. And sometimes a change of people helps. So hope your evening improves. Jay McConnell, also a gentleman junkie. Good to have you here with us, sir. Happy Thursday Night Knives. He says, it's funny because right before we started rolling, I felt a flagging energy. I felt like, am I coming down with something? Or is this a lifestyle cough? And lo and behold, I'm feeling energy, and I think I'm getting the wind in my sails from Urals's wind. Mr. VC256, good to have you here, sir, all the way from Austria, Österreich. Good morning, everyone, he says. Sorry for the cringy pronunciation. I just had to, though. It's good to have you here, sir. I hope you are enjoying that Norseman. Thank you for loaning me that beauty. Ket McNessart, good to have you here, sir. Howdy, Bob, Jim, and junkies. He says, Watching tonight while making breakfast sausage out of a deer I got last Sunday. Oh, wow. All right. So I've been listening to a lot of hunting stories, and it makes me wistful for something I've never quite experienced. Not quite. I've never nearly experienced it. I've only done fishing in my life in terms of harvesting animals from God's great earth. But I love hearing stories of people out in the woods hunting, especially if they come across beasts that they don't understand. Manny Z, good to have you here. Hey there, Bob and Jim, he says, and Knife Junkies. Manny, it's a pleasure, sir. Wilby says, I'm holding one of my 7-month-olds and had to type fast. Oh, well, man, give that little cutie pie a little rub on the top of the head from your friendly neighborhood knife junkie. That's so. I love kids. What can I say? Never Enough Knives 007. Good to have you here. He says, happy Thursday night knives all. 007, good to have you with us. Max the Maker. Bob, have you checked out the Lander? I got one and it's not going to stick around. Okay, the Lander, this is the new blade from NAFS, right? Yes, it's the new blade from NAFS, and that's Ben Peterson, formerly of Blade HQ. He's got his company NAFS, was sort of launched his knife designing efforts with the Civivi and Wii banters, but now he's making this knife, the Lander. It was just brought up on KC's live show the other night, and uh, both people on the show liked it, but I didn't sense any racing hearts. So, but we can talk about that. I want you to write in the comment why it is it's not going to stick around. I'm just curious because it looks like a very sensible knife. It looks like it has a very good personality. Mr. VC256 says, not now, still on the way over the ocean, sadly. Will take some weeks until I'm able to enjoy it. Well, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I guess since you've never had this, it's going to make it like really terrifically fond. So I hope it gets there to you soon, but you know it's in good hands. Okay, so I want to talk about what I was carrying today. I think it's time for a pocket check. Even though he's been accused of stealing valor, there is something that has made this man like the Teflon Don, and that's Strider, Mick Strider, and Strider knives. Just a stalwart of the modern folding tactical knife world. This one I bought from Terrell Todd. You know him, perhaps you knew him at one time as Zelric42 on YouTube, but he is one half of the design team, the Todd brothers, Terrell and Seth and Terrell Todd, and they are the Todd brothers who designed the Roxy 1, the Roxy 2, the Roxy 3, and what's that other one that I loved so much before I sold it? I had to sell it, you know. Um, it's a computer term. It's like a virus that goes into a computer and destroys. I don't know. I can't remember what. The malware. They created the malware. Anyway, I got this from him, so it was in immaculate shape. It has a beautiful edge on it. He sharpened this edge on his consistent angle sharpener, and he did it wonderfully. They're not easy. Just because the thing is all set up, it doesn't mean that you immediately are going to be good at sharpening knives because the angles remain consistent. He did a beautiful job on this. This, like I've always wanted out of a Strider, is a hollow ground Strider with the CC. That's the concealed carry handle. So awesome knife. Concealed carry. It's thin and contoured as opposed to the Lego models, which are big and blocky. So I had this in my pocket today, and I don't carry this knife often, but it was great to have on me. So I think I'm reawakening my love of the SMF. I had the SNG automatic from ProTech, ended up selling it to our good friend Nick Martino, who I know loves the hell out of that knife. I don't know. This is kind of where my love for Strider begins and ends. And there are a couple of other cool fixed blades that they've made over the years, and maybe another folder or two, but this is what I go to Strider for. So I had that in my pocket today. Also, the Jack Wolf Knives Little Bro. I love this knife. This is the Jack Wolf Knives version of the boy's knife. Classic size and sleeve board shaped single bladed jackknife that was marketed to boys back in the day. As a matter of fact, just out of reach, I have an old um, advertising placard with a bunch of plastic boys' knives with metal handles, and they're really good quality. My brother got it for me at antique shop. But I love the size of the boy's knife. It's the number 15 and the number 14 from Great Eastern Cutlery. The 15 is the more traditional size. That's this. The 14 is a little bit smaller. But they both have that sleeve board shape. If you've ever ironed a shirt in an old house that had an ironing board that came out of the kitchen wall, well, you may know what a sleeve board is. It's that small board that comes down on top for you to slide your sleeves over. That's how they named the shape of this. Anyway, to get back to this knife is great. This one came out under a bit of a cloud because there was a manufacturing issue, a little bit of blade wrap. I had a little bit on mine, sharpened right out. This thing is razor sharp. But I really respect Ben Belkin's move in pulling this from the market when it had some issues and retooling, and I'm sure this will be coming out in the future. He just powered on with all of his other great models. But I'm very happy, very privileged to have this one. I think some people may have returned theirs, or some people never got theirs, but I love this knife. And then, of course, it's in that natural canvas micarta next to that blasted gray titanium. It looks like what Ohio looks like when you drive in the winter. Like you've got the fields of wheat here, and then you've got the gray sky. It's always a gray sky when I drive into Ohio. So sentimental value in that knife too. Whatever I can do to hold on as many knives as possible. All right. So what did I have on me today for emotional support? I had the old the Off-Grid Knives Enforcer EDC. Such a great little model. Awesome curved Warncliffe. That just sat on my desk and got a little action. And then this, the Hogtooth Tonto, which I'm always carrying. And actually, I have a little update. You may remember a little while back, I was telling you about how I'm going to be designing, or I have designed a blade for this platform. I carry this knife all the time. It's this and the Kramer Custom Voodoo that get most of the carry, 90% of the carry. This is the predictable in my knife collection. So I designed a clip point blade to go with it, and Mr. Matt Chase of Hogtooth Knives has been busy filling orders, but he finally got to, I don't mean finally like what took you so long, but he finally got to working on the prototype, and I'm going to show you a picture he sent me this very same day. Really, really cool, looking great. This guy knows how to grind a blade, by gum. All right, check this out. Let's see, Jim, if we can get this. Let's see. There we go. Look at that. Clip point blade. That's about a 3.5-inch clip point blade with that same handle. And as the Tonto, slight recurve, which is designed in to be sharpened out over time, but will do some great cutting in the meantime. And that swedge is 0 ground. So it's not sharp. You're not going to be able to shave your face with it or cut cheese with it. But if you find yourself in a fight with it, it will be helpful to have that. And something I did was pinch the screen and zoom way into the tip. And where the swedge meets the cutting edge, it's a perfect diamond. I highly recommend Matt Chase's Knives, Hogtooth. Definitely check it out. We are collaborating on making a small number of them, and then we'll get them in the hands of people who want them. FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies. Good to have you here. I had a Bowie knife that belonged to Davy Crockett, handed down to me from my grandfather. He told me that the handle, the blade, and the screws had been replaced, but it occupies the same space. That's hilarious. I love that. That sounds like something my Grandpa Tinurelli would say. You know, Bobby, this came directly from... That is funny. I love it. Grandpa humor. You know, I'm working on it. I'm working on the dad humor. I feel like I've got that down, but someday I hope to work on my grandpa humor. Have a Knife Day says, I have a Randall 12-8 Bear inbound. What is the 12? What is the 12? You have to let me know. Bear, that's 8-inch. That's a big blade. Here's my Here's my 7-inch number 16 with the number 1 blade. So the 16 handle, which is their dive knife, looks a lot like the number 14 attack handle, but this is the 16. You got the uneven quillions, which I love, just ever so slightly uneven, in brass, and then that gorgeous 440 stainless steel blade, just like they made them in World War II. Hey, man, if the greatest generation could carry this knife and could get the job done with 440 steel, I'm pretty sure it'll work for me and my needs. Love this thing. Speaking of sharpened swedge, I love that all Randall knives have sharpened swedges. That's how it should be. That's what restores balance. Today it was Coyote Brown Cold Steel Talwar. Ooh, that sounds cool. Is that a black blade? And my Randall 1/8 with stag handle. Ooh, very nice. So that's this blade plus an inch. This is the classic Randall blade. I would love to get a 14. I love the Bowie shape of the 14. It's wider. It doesn't have the same contours. It just kind of comes out wide. But beautiful knife with this sort of handle. Now they all come in handles that you can get various handles on them in 5 years. But I don't know. 5 years, my taste in handles might change. Gaston Garcia, good to have you here, Gaston. Good evening, Knife Junkies, he says, I've been carrying today a Hogue RSK Mark I G2 with black blade. Very nice. That's a great choice. I have my little purple one. I have the mini. I had the large one. I gave that to someone, and now I kind of miss it. So someday I'm sure I'll get the full size back, but what a great knife. And Gaston says, and during my morning hike, oh, that's nice, a morning hike, a Tops Fieldcraft Brothers of Bushcraft in 154 cm. Who doesn't love 154 cm? And if you say you don't, you're lying. Plus a small Condor Kephart compact. Tang knives while hiking. Why is that, Gaston? I'm just curious. Do you feel like they are the most robust in a survival situation? And if you go hiking, you might find yourself in that kind of situation? Just curious. Let me know. Son of Liberty 78. Good to have you here, sir. Howdy, folks, he says. Well, howdy to you, sir. I was going to say howdy, folk, to you. Have you noticed the preponderance of the word folks? We want to make sure that folks understand this government program. And folks, we want folks to understand folks and folks. I hear folks all the time, and it's always government people, and I can't stand it. Just say people. Just say people. Folks, you've ruined the word folks for me. That's what I call my parents. I'm going home to see my folks. Christoph Wilhelm says, the pinion. You were carrying the pinion. Excuse me. Thai SFORJ. What is that? Thai SFORJ. Maritac Copper Frag CR123. I'm guessing that's a flashlight. I mean, a torch. And a Douglas Neo Model 4S. Okay, you are talking Greek to me, except pinion. What is the Thai SFORJ? I'm hoping that's a knife. I'm hoping this isn't all tan tool. Tan tool. That sounds like a Tonto tool kind of thing. All right, you're gonna have to translate in English. Manny Z says the Nimble W and the Rex 45 Smock. Awesome. Smock, love, hate it. Feels great in hand. Love the blade. Handle, fugly. I'll say it. Blade Ogre says, carrying the ZT0460. I busted mine out because we kept talking about it last week. So I wanted to be part of the cool group. Carrying the ZT0460, Emerson designed, Benchmade tagged out. One that once they start putting it out in all the different handle scales, I'm definitely going to get. I love the look of that long clip point blade. Burgundy micarta Benchmade Adamas. I love just the words Burgundy micarta together. And Benchmade Adamas, I'm Adamas curious. Medford Praetorian Swift, that's the auto. The American Service Knife, also by Medford. The Manly Peak, a Bulgarian company, I believe. And the Nafs Lander. Smith & Sons Ox Sodbuster. And Terzuola ATCF Light. So this all right, what movie is this from? A guy could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas with all this. You can't look it up either. It was just on. We just watched it. There's your hint. We just watched it. Max the Maker says the jimping on the Lander is unusual for me, and I find the knife uncomfortable, but it does open nicely. Well, it's all about the action. So the jimping, is it because it's in an odd spot? Is it further up the blade? I do kind of like that sometimes. Shredder, hey guys, how's it going? We have Jonathan and Ezekiel with us. Good evening, party people. Well, good evening to you all. I love the video that I saw with Ezekiel the other day. Very, very, he was gearing up. I liked it with the Prather War Bowie. Oh, do you see how I split the baby on that? I didn't say Bowie or Bowie. I said Bowie. Steel Ovan, good to see you here, Steel. Hey guys, carried the Black Micarta Sabenza 31. Love it. And the Warney fixed blade I made. Oh, you keep telling us about that, and I want to see it. Have I seen it? I don't think I have. Will B says, man, that prototype looks great. Well, yes, I agree. I agree, and maybe I should say thank you because I had a little part to do with it. But yeah, it's going to be on this platform. This is so easy to carry. As a matter of fact, today at work, I have a shirt, and then I usually have a sweater or a vest or something over because it's freezing at work. But today I took it off and I'm walking around with the handle of this sticking out of my pants. And after a while, I got a little self-conscious. So I took it out, dropped the whole package in my pants, and I was wearing jeans today. And it all fit in there perfectly. And if I oriented it this way with the edge, in, I could actually pull it out of the pocket and it would de-sheath and I could have it in hand. So a very great platform. That's why I suggested or proposed that I be allowed to design different blade shapes for it because I like it so much. So selfish and yet giving, giving of myself. Never Enough Knives 007 says, today was the Bark River Vest Pocket Bowie. That's cool. And with natural micarta Moran style handle. Do love the Moran style handle. Off-grid Cayman XL. Nice. And Swiss Army Knife Huntsman. That's like, you've got everything covered there. That Vest Pocket Bowie, that's what, like a 5-inch blade? Byron says, my carry was an off-grid all-day necker. So that knife is that's a discontinued knife. He will still honor the warranty on it, but he's not making any more of those. So you've got a cool knife there. I wanted to get my hands on that, and I never did. A Tempest Pinion, awesome. What flavor of pinion did you get? Curious. And the Cold Steel Recon 1. I thought for sure you were going to say Dayton was the gray after the wheat of Ohio. That's funny. Yeah. I can't rag on Dayton, but maybe I can rag a little bit on Cleveland. But hey, I love it. I grew up there. What was I going to say? Oh, if you didn't see the midweek supplemental, you must, because I have a list of my 15 top mostest and bestest of my collection. And some of the categories are weird. One of them is looks most like an Italian racing boat, but one of them is best looking knife closed. And this took that prize. I love the way this thing looks just sitting on my desk. I look over at it and it's like, can we do some work? Can we go? Are we ready to go? Let's go. And I think it's a beautiful knife closed. I love it open, and I love the way it works. Must be honest, my factory edge was not razor sharp, but it did a great job on double-walled cardboard on a big box. And then when I stropped it after that job, forget about it. It was great. It is great. I'm going to put this thing down. This is an impulse buy that I feel a little ashamed of, but not that ashamed. 9198 David, how you doing, man? Had the CRK in Cosi. So the Chris Reeve knives in Cosi, Spyderco Sage 1, and the brand new CKF Rotten Evo 3.0 on me today. I'm so happy for you, David. That's so great. I'm so glad you have that awesome knife. No, I'm just kidding. I really actually am. Because in a way, it's kind of like it's in the extended knife family. So let's see. By the way, I had Kev of Lefty EDC. I had his for a short while, and that knife blew my mind in every way. Love that thing. So congratulations, sir. Son of Liberty 78 says, been mostly carrying my DLT Crewwear PM2 and the Dirac Delta lately. That's a great combo. You got super utility with that PM2 and Crewwear, plus some exclusivity, it being in Crewwear and also a DLT exclusive. But then you've got the Delta, the Dirac. How do they pronounce that? Dirac. For just laying waste and vanquishing your foes. You should always have that option on you. Carried the Watu on a couple of days and the S90V Yo Jumbo, very nice, on Monday. I always carry a primary cutter with the Delta as backup. The Delta, that's a cool backup, man. Cool, classy, and wicked. The Watu, that's a small. Is that Three Rivers three? The Watu. Who makes the Watu? I think it's the same people that make the Satu, but I can't think of them right now. Dave says, today was an ode to Morgan Cones. Yes, I saw that. That was cool. Carrying the new Best Tech Loch Ness, the Togata, very nice, and the Shikari by Concept. I didn't know that the Shikari was a Morgan Cones. I would love to own one of his fixed blade knives. Unfortunately, they're very exclusive, and he doesn't make them often. And when he does, he makes runs of like 2 or 3, and they are positively gorgeous. I once invited him onto the show years ago, and he thanked me and said he's not into that kind of thing. But I was like, well, I'm into your kind of thing, so if you ever want to come on, let me know. Blame Dexter says, today I carried my Demco 80 20.5 for work. But if I wasn't working, I would have carried my new ProTech Godson in Sapphire DLC. That's kind of cool. Now, Dave, I was saying before that this old sword sent me a box full of sweet knives, and one of them was a little confounding. It was a Williamson knife from his new line, and it's definitely a budget knife. It's got the grivery handles, but it's got a great action on its axis lock or bar lock. But the blade is gold, and at first I was like, oh no, this looks like Uday Hussein's Desert Eagle. And I was like, after a minute, I was like, but it's kind of cool. I kind of started to like it. And it also comes with a little lanyard and a fob or a little bead. And after a while, I was thinking, this is kind of cool. Why not? And so that blue DLC on the Godson is something I never would have considered before. But last night, I kind of came around to a gold blade. So why not a blue blade? It's cold as ice. Jay McConnell says, today I had the Chavez Redencion. How do you pronounce that? Redencion 229. And the new, which by the way is beautiful. I don't mean to botch the reading of that and not focus on how awesome the Chavez knives are. They are just beautiful. And a new Switch. Oh my God. Switch Army knife switchblade in classic red G10 with a Swiss Army knife style drop point. So Jay McConnell just got a Gedritis knife. Congratulations, Jay McConnell. We have an aristocrat among us, people. No, I'm just kidding, but that is awesome. I love those switchblade, those Switch Army knives. How cool. What a cool guy. And the knives he makes, man, they're just bizarre. You gotta, if you haven't seen the interview I did with him, I can't remember what number it is, but just look up the Knife Junkie and Chuck Gedritis. And he's a very cool and interesting guy. Hey, James, how's it going? We have James Moore with us. Hi, people, he says. Hello, James. Christoph Wilhelm says, Ohio River Jack, which I keep meaning to get. Douglas Model 4 lighter, and the Tontool is a pry bar. Okay, Tontool is a pry bar. The Ohio River Jack. Okay, thank you. That was the ORJ. Gotcha. And then the Douglas thing was something else. Douglas Model 4 is a lighter. Okay. Ooh, okay. You got to have a lighter. Got to have a way to make fire on you. Gaston says, I carry a full tang because I live in a somewhat rural area. So I want full tang knives outdoor. Cut wood, fight an animal, whatever might happen. Plus, it's a great excuse to use those big knives. Gaston, you are preaching to the choir, my man. Here, check this one out. You should consider getting one of these if you like big daddy knives. This one is the Svord von Temsky Bowie, and this guy von Temsky was a ranger. I guess. Well, he was in New Zealand, but I don't think he was native. But he was a ranger, kind of when they were taming New Zealand. I guess when England. And anyway, he was like a Rough Rider type, and he had this knife made for himself and all of his wandering ruffians. I don't know exactly what they did, but I know they used these as weapons and camping tools and everything else. and it's full tang, and that's an 11-inch blade, thick as the day is long. I guess that's about 5/16 of an inch, and stout and sturdy, and a great excuse to carry around a big knife. Also, great sheath. I'll put this down next to my impulse buy. See if that. Let's see. Johnny Casada, good to have you here, sir. Howdy, y'all. Today was the Hogue Ballista. I love that knife. That is a cool looking knife, and I love it in blue. Good looking blade. Son of Liberty 78 says, I said folks because I come from a proud line of rednecks. You're right that politicians have completely ruined the term, though. It is true. And I work government adjacent, or and I hear a lot of folks. We're concerned with folks' needs and that kind of thing. Gaston says, I do actually baton and make fire outdoors every couple of weeks. And I'm reading it that way. Weeks, ... Therefore, a Von Temsky Bowie would really fit in my loadout very well. See, I was doing it for you there. Shredder says, got the pinion and a condor. Oh, Undertaker. All right, so the Undertaker isn't, I've been in the Bowie tear. Undertaker is on my short list. There are some other Bowies to get before that, but yeah, I really like the look of that Undertaker. The one hit I've been hearing is how tight the throat of the sheath is, and won't quite accommodate the swelling belly of the blade, and so it's a real tug to pull out. But excuse me, I read an interesting review, and the guy told the guy who wrote the review said how to open up and cure that, and basically he sprayed it with some leather softener, like for shoes and boots, and then he pounded a couple of shims in there and widened it out and let it dry, and he said it worked like a charm. So Jonathan and Ezekiel, if you're having trouble with your Undertaker Bowie sheath, you might consider checking that out. Have a Knife Day says, overview this model 12/8 Bear Bowie from Randall Made Knives. Features a satin finished stainless steel blade with a sharpened top edge. Oh yeah. 0.215 inches blade stock and 1.69 blade depth, hidden tang. Oh man. Well, congratulations. That sounds awesome. I'm trying to think of which one that is, and I will look it up. My mind keeps going back to the Smithsonian Bowie, which is like huge. James Moore says, remember, Bob, that was supposed to be a pretty good weekend in Dallas. Oh, yeah. Before Kennedy was assassinated. Oh, remember, Bob, that was supposed to be a pretty good weekend in Dallas before Kennedy was. Interesting. James, are you suggesting that this is an extra dimension to the question that perhaps I wasn't considering? A guy could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas. Oh, Vegas. Right. Okay. So let me know, James, if you know what that's from. Will B said, I have the Grimsmo Norseman. Oh, I had. Okay. So this is Will's carry today. I had the Grimsmo Norseman, the Spyderco PM2, just anodized the tie scales and lynch clip. Very nice. Tempest Pinion. We have fans of the Pinion. That's so cool. The Civivi Chevalier, which means horse rider, right? Is that what we decided? The Olight 15T Plus. I have a feeling that's a light. Baton 3 and Karis Pen Company Bolt V2 blue and brass. That sounds sweet. I don't know the Karis pen in particular, but I do love a good bolt pen. Very cool. That's a very nice. Oh, really? Thank you, Jim. You got that in the 8-inch blade. Holy mackerel. That's going to be a monster. Look at how big the swedge is. That is a fighting Bowie, period. That is a fighting Bowie. Look at how long and slender, relatively speaking, that is, and how long that sharpened swedge is. Man alive, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Jim. That's the one that I was actually, I thought of that and I was like, no, I bet it looks more like the Smithsonian Bowie, and I was wrong. The handle has a forward curved brass guard like that one did, and a butt cap, single finger grip style. Oh, single finger grip. So they call that the Border Patrol style of handle. Single finger grip style, black linen micarta grip with red, white, and blue spacers, lanyard hole at the butt. Damn. That's going to be awesome. That will be awesome. And I think that that style handle is somewhat rare, the Border Patrol. You see it, I think, most on the 14. Blade Ogre says, snuck an extra knife into this carry and no count this time. You know what, man? Oh, so that's 9? You had 9 on you today? I was just so overwhelmed by thinking of all of those beautiful knives. I live 20 minutes from Dayton, says Wilby. Oh, yeah, no kidding. Oh, wait. I knew that. That's right. And there was also another coincidence that we mentioned. Wilby says, I also had the Artisan Sea Snake. I love that knife. Mike Emler designed. And you may have noticed, but Artisan put out a knife that looks a folder that looks an awful lot like the Sea Snake. That is not a Mike Emler design. Mr. VC256 says, today I'm going to carry the Jack Wolf Knives Midnight Jack. What a great choice. The ProTech ATCF, very nice. The Shira Goroff F95T, and my new BPS Knives Savage CHS. So BPS, I showed my HK5. That is a Ukrainian-made outdoors knife with an incredible Scandi ground edge. Also a very comfortable handle, very ergonomic with the 5 finger choils, but totally unfinished. So I have plans to stain it maroon. Gary, how's it going, Gary? Carried my Grayman Sawtooth. That's what I was trying to remember Grayman before. Thank you, Gary Gurowski. And, or is it Jurowski? Carried my Grayman Sawtooth and Hinder fire attack today. That fire attack grew on me, I have to say. I always thought it was very plain Jane, just the design in general. And then I saw one with a recurve blade, and it made me reconsider. Ground Fog says, classic SD. So that's the Swiss Army knife, the little one. On the keychain, no doubt. Or maybe not, maybe in the 5th pocket. Benchmade AFCK, an absolute classic of a knife, the AFCK. I always wanted one of those, especially with a round opening hole like the Spyderco. Those Benchmades were so cool, and the Griptilian. That AFCK was, I think, the first knife that the axis lock was used on, and it was a McHenry Williams design. So cool. Nicely done, sir. FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies says, I carried my Mickey Ray Burger Felon today. Ooh, I don't know what that is, but Mickey Ray Burger and Felon, that all sounds good. It sounds like a cool knife. Mickey Ray, you get in here right now and you finish that Felon. Get it out to FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies. He's been waiting. Usually hard to choose between my 2 Mickey Ray Burger knives. I got to check out who this guy is, but I couldn't find my Ray Burger AWOL today. Jim, if you have a spare moment, because I know you're not doing much, could you find Mickey Ray Burger? Of course, that is a joke. Anyone who's listening knows how hard it is to run one of these things, especially when you're me. So I am very grateful to Jim. This Old Sword Blade review says, Morgan is making me a custom Tonto. Excuse me. Morgan is making me a custom Tonto fixed blade with bamboo carved Cocobolo handle, massively wide blade, and big fuller down the middle. I'll DM you a pic. That sounds great, man. That sounds great. I know that he's good at sharpening a swedge. So see if you can get one on there. That sounds beautiful, Dave. Son of Liberty 78 says Spyderco makes the Watu. Oh, the Watu is the it's part of the ethnographic series, and it's based on an African knife. It's the triangular one. That's a cool one. It's a Tai Chung model with a 3.25 20 CV inch blade. It's just under 3 ounces and slicey AF with a 0.09 inch blade stock. Oh, what does the tilde mean there? Does that mean less than? I'm not sure what that little squiggly line means. If it's not over an N. Christoph Wilhelm says, thank you for that, by the way, the Watu. I always thought the Watu, they make the small one. They used to make a big one. I always thought it was a cool looking knife. Kind of before it hit before the Warncliffe craze hit. Christoph Wilhelm says, I saw an SBR with that gun blue blade from Blade Show West. It was totally sick. SBR. Oh, short blade, short. Yeah. with gun blue blade. Oh man, I love gun bluing on knives. You don't see it often because the bluing can come off with certain acidic materials, and can it poison you? Like if you have it on a hunting knife, I think the bluing can do some damage. But many of the 20 carbon steel knives I've made, I've blued, and I just think it looks cool as hell. JN, what up, Bob? Jim, what up, y'all? First of all, hello, JN. Always a pleasure, sir. I carried the old S90V Native Chief in position 1 today. I'm assuming that's front right. Other assorted backups and multi-tools. Eating burgers right now, so blanket what ups. Oh, man, burgers. That sounds good. That sounds good right now. I could definitely murder a burger. Tonight I had some awesome leftovers that my mother-in-law made us. Delicious. Gaston Garcia says, real story. Oh, here we go. All right. Real story. Once I was hiking and a real farmer told me, you can't walk in my land, but next time at least carry a machete. So now I use a full tang when walking. That is awesome. I like that. You can walk on my land. I said can't. I meant can. You can walk on my land, but next time at least carry a machete. What does he mean by that, Gaston? How did you interpret that? Here's how I interpreted it. I think what he was telling you is there's something here unexplainable, something here terrifying, and you would be shocked. And I'm not going to tell you. Just know that you would be better off with a machete in your hand. It is October, people. It is Halloween time. Byron Kennedy said, support the YouTube Fantasy Challenge where 20-plus bladesmiths compete to make the ultimate fantasy blades. Yes, right. That's right. Yes, you get to vote. See Tyrell Knife Works. Oh, dude, his knife. It looks like a Gnunting, and a shark had a romantic evening at a Motel 6 and produced this knife because it's got a beautiful Gnunting sort of sickle-shaped blade, but then the hilt and the handle and the pommel all are shark-like in their design theme. So very cool stuff. And Tyrell, Dennis Tyrell of Tyrell Blade Works, also someone who's been on the show, makes outstandingly cool knives and shows you a lot of how he does it. Shane Gables, how you doing, Shane? Hashtag be up. Hello, all you beautiful people. What does be up mean? Be up like be happy? I can do that. Shane, it's always a pleasure, man. Max the Maker says, part 1 in the pocket. Part 1 in the pocket from priceless to least expensive. The DeMarco dice pick. Thank you, Max. That warms the cockles of my heart. The Doug Ritter RSK Mark III, a great knife. DRD Slimline Titanium Go Pen with red carbon. Oh, that sounds nice. Part 2 for Olight Perrin 2. Flashlight. Thank you for adding that. Swiss Army knife Huntsman 6. I love the Huntsman. And 6 clip lid lighter. Oh, okay. So it's kind of got it's a lighter that has a little bit of a carabiner on it, maybe. Swiss Tech Microtech 6-inch. 6-in-1, and then 7 Field Notes Expedition waterproof note. I have never had a Field Notes waterproof notebook, and it's never come up that I've needed one. But I love notebooks. I love pens. I always, think I'm going to start writing the great American novel, or start sketching everything I see, and that doesn't quite happen. But I still like the accoutrement around me, just in case I am moved by the spirit. Shane says, carried my American Blade Works Model 1 version 6. Again, I'm addicted to this thing. He says in all caps, Shane, are you angry at me? I'm just kidding. This old sword blade reviews says the term folks was made popular by George W. Bush as a rich Yankee who wanted to ensure that we would all acknowledge him as a bona fide homespun boy. That's funny. I don't remember it that far back. I do hear it a lot in meetings that have a lot of social workers, and God loves social workers. My aunt is one, and they do help a lot of people, but they do say folks quite a bit. I think it's so they don't have to say man or woman or mother or father. Personally, Have a Knife Day says 2 Randalls should do it for me. Yeah, I thought that too, but my eyes are starting to wander. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm actually very happy with this blade and with the with the 7-inch combat stiletto, two absolute classics. Anything other than this is gravy, but these two are imperative, really. Burnt Toast, good to have you here, Burnt Toast. I think you might be new here, so it's good to have you. Today I had the Phobos Alaris. I'm not sure what that is. Spyderco Shaman and Lion Steel Best Man. I love those Lion Steel slip joints. And I do have to check out the Ohio River Jack because like Jack Wolf knives and like Fox knives and like knives ship or not knives ship free, but collectorknives.net and all this. I love the modern slip joints. I love the old designs in the modern materials. James Moore says, Bob, they changed the line in the script from Dallas to Vegas. Oh, of course. Originally, Peter Sellers was supposed to play that role until he injured his ankle. Slim Pickens got the part. I didn't know either of those. Oh, wait, I think I did know that. That sounds familiar to me now. Okay. So they changed it to Vegas. He would have said Dallas because he's Slim Pickens and he's got the cowboy hat and all that, and he rides the bomb down like a bucking bronco. But they changed it to Vegas because it was released shortly after the assassination. Got it. What a great movie, and thank you for getting it. I'm sure a lot of you got it. That's such a classic. Kevin Moore says, "Morning, you bunch of very cool junkies. I'm incredibly honored to be here with you." Well, I'm incredibly honored to have you here with us, Kevin. And I know you are ironing that Hawaiian shirt as we speak, getting it ready for Friday. Hawaiian shirt Friday. I have no Hawaiian shirts, but I have one that I wore on my 50th birthday and a couple of other times that I do like quite a bit for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, my wife got it for me. Reason number two, because that means she thinks it's cool. So when you wear a shirt that your wife gets you, that immediately makes you slightly more attracted. Or attractive, I should say. So it's got that. It's got tigers on it, kind of like sinuously posed, and it's got some palm trees, and I love that because it reminds me of like Tiger Balm or the images on Thai stuff. So that, and then thirdly, the sleeves are tight, so they make my arms look big. The shirt makes my arms look big, and come on, who are we fooling? Don't we do that every once in a while? Oh, this shirt's a little tight, but so no Hawaiian shirts, but that'll do till the real thing gets here. Never Enough Knives 007 says, I just picked up a BPS B1. Nice grind and surprisingly nice dangler sheath. B1. Which one is the B1? Dangler sheaths. Oh, yes. They have really cool knives. And when you buy a knife from BPS, you are supporting a family business. This one happens to be in Ukraine. I'm sure they could use all the business they can get due to their circumstances and all of that. But man, they make a very damn good knife, and it's very inexpensive, and it gives you the option to finish the handle how you want. And you could leave it and never have to do anything to it, and it feels great, and it'll look great and take on that shiny patina that wood does. Excuse me. Kevin says, I carried my Banters today in blue and regular, the baby. Great carries. Kevin, it's a little disconcerting that you carried two of the same brand and same designer even, but that's all right. It's okay. You're here, and that's what matters. But next time, just be careful with that. Ground Fog says, my AFCKs are liner locks, but they were quite possibly other locking systems. Oh, I love them for the slim self-defense carry. Yeah, and they have a cool shape, but maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe in my mind I'm putting the axis lock on that. I know that they designed another knife that was fancier with the G10 and the 4-inch blade. I don't remember what that was called, and that definitely had the thing, but it looked a bit like the axis lock, but it looked a bit like the AFC thing. Okay. Kevin Moore said, picked up the Petrified Fish Dagger, inexpensive and fun to carry. So that's the one that's an automatic, right? No, it's not an automatic, but it's a folding dagger, but it's a single-edged folding dagger. Very nice looking blade shape on that knife, indeed. Bob, I got to stop watching your new show. I had to buy a Boca Texas toothpick today. All right, well, let me show you what he's talking about. This is part of my state of the collection, part of my new knives in this week. This thing is awesome. So after having Chaz Fisher on the show, he's the general manager of Boker USA. He was very, very kind after I sent him a letter saying, thank you so much for your time. Mark Ridgewell, good to have you here, sir. What's up, fellas? He says. He said, can I send you a knife from Boker? And I said, sure. And I really maintained discipline. I mean, like, I went straight for the Bowies. I was looking at their Bowies, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to ask this guy for a $500 Bowie. That would be very gauche. So I asked for a knife that I've been very interested in and is pretty economical. And this is how it came. First of all, great, really nice Cordura nylon sheath. Son of Liberty 78 says, tilde means approximately. Okay. When used like that, Bob, the larger discontinued knife that was the Watu was modeled after the Chakwi. That one used a frame lock. The Watu is a oh, nice. Okay. The Chakwi. I think they had to make a Chakwi on blade, on Forged in Fire. I could be wrong about that. This Boker comes like this in this awesome Cordura sheath. In this thing, these zipper pouches. This one happens to be really awesome. It's got 2 spots here, and it's very soft, and it's got this thing here. But this is what came in it, and I love this. They wrapped it up like an old school, like a case knife or like a Great Eastern cutlery in paper. So you get the experience of unrolling the paper, which I always find quite gratifying. And then here you go. This is the knife based on the Texas toothpick. This is the Texas toothpick by Boker Knives. Look at that beautiful blade. So slender and sinuous. I really, really like the shape of the Texas toothpick. It's like an exaggerated California clip here. This is the only, here I have 2 toothpicks actually. This one from Buck Knives, you can see quite small. And then this big one from Rough Rider, but it doesn't have the traditional kind of toothpick blade. It's got a longer, slender blade, but not like this. So same sort of handle. This knife here is so sweet. It is very thin. It is very sharp, and it's got great action. And it's so light that you can shake it closed, but that blade is so light that even though the action is awesome, it just, it doesn't drop shut. But it has this satisfying sort of closing. I got the Cocobolo model. They also have it in G10. I've been really digging wood lately. That sounds really bad. I've been really liking wood on knives these days. I thought I brought something else out, but I guess not. I've really been liking the wood on knives. This thing is surprising, though. Look at this sculpted titanium pocket clip. Kind of out of place. It looks like a banana, and it's situated kind of oddly, and it just looks incongruous. But I still like it because it gives you the grip you need to actually hold on to this very thin and very slender knife. And by thin, I mean thin this way, and slender, I mean slender this way. It really is kind of like holding a stick, something round in your hand. So having a larger clip there is good for shoring up your grip and being able to hold on to something as you flip this open. Great action, super sharp and thin, and just sweet. I love this thing. By the way, it sits great next to the wallet. It sits great next to the phone in your back pocket. I carry it in my back left where I keep a bandana, and it's a great little gentleman's knife. That is a true gentleman's knife. And let me show you. This is my other true gentleman's knife, and it couldn't be more opposite. But it is in Cocobolo. But look at that. This is the most gentlemanly knife I felt until I got this. And I think people just assume that when we say gentleman's knife, we mean at least thin and slender, and sometimes, small. But in the case of the Finch knives, Buffalo Tooth, I think it's gentlemanly as the day is long, but that is not thin at all. So there it is. he mentioned the Texas toothpick. I thought I'd show it to you. Gaston Garcia says there's snakes, tons of snakes here in Costa Rica. Oh, you're in Costa Rica, man. Awesome. I've always wanted to go there. I've heard it's beautiful. I also hear that they let you somewhat be free, meaning they don't get in your business too much there. Farmers don't like city people just walking around. Gotcha. So they prefer people at least pretend they're tough. So that's why the machete is appropriate. That's very, very interesting. I know, I've been to Bolivia a couple of times, and my father has been to El Salvador a number of times. I know one central and one south, but still just a lot of countries south of the border have a real affinity for the machete because it's a work tool. And I love driving around and seeing people walk around with machetes. Shane says, hashtag be up was Jason Brown's tag. He was a graffiti artist. I did not know that. That's cool. Jose Abdul Favela says, love my new Lynn Thompson serrated Spartan. Love the G10 handle polished S35 GN or S35 and serrations. Box comes signs, 3,000 made, each with individual serial numbers. Been with me all day. Sounds great. The one thing that made me bristle about that is that they moved to a flat grind, right? And I know it's a big wide blade. It's going to shear like mad, but I did like the look and, shallow, I know, but I did like the look of the swedge and the hollow ground on the old one. So, and you're like, Bob, S35 VN as opposed to OS 8, serrations as opposed to no serrations, that awesome G10 sculpted handle as opposed to the old Grivery. I get it. Sounds awesome. And I wouldn't mind having that. And also the new Lynn Thompson signature Bowie, what is that called? The Marine Raider one. Have a Knife Day says, I do say the classic leather stack model one is great. Oh, yes. I do too. I love stacked leather handles. Shane says, Bob, I acquired another Manix 2 yesterday. This one is in S110V. Got to get them all. Manix 2 is the GOAT of EDC knives. All right. So this is good to know because a couple of times back when we spoke and I asked you, you maintained that, well, I think you were having trouble deciding between the two. So it looks like the Manix has finally risen to the surface. And the last one you got was S90V, right? So you've brought it up 30. Byron says, SS was fishing. Okay. Stupid story. I was fishing with my dad on a skiff and opened my Leatherman while motoring. He said I would cut myself. Put it away. I ignored dirty look to him 2 hours later and 6 stitches later, ruined trip. Byron, listen to your dad. He knows what he's talking about because he's been there. And believe it or not, he did some stupid stuff too, probably. Dave says, stupid knife story. Was showing a Gerber Mark II. Love that. That's the classic Gerber dagger. To a buyer at my martial arts school long ago. It slipped out of my hand. Oh my God. Handing point first to my inner thigh. Oh, just missing the femoral artery. Holy crap. Butterflied it. Dude, that could have been the last mistake you made. Thank God it wasn't. But that sounds so nasty. It's that yawning wound. It's like, when you see it just separate. Happy Haptic EDC. How you doing, Happy Haptic? How's y'all on this fine evening? Glad to see you, Bobby. I carried my mini Corvid. That's a interesting knife, which I use to open packages with new Crocs and my Bastinelli Pica. Thank you. All right. You don't have to be a folks saying person to wear Crocs. You can be a knife collector and wear Crocs. You don't have to refer to people as folks and be sensitive to have Crocs. Crocs are damn comfortable. And you know how I found that out? I broke my ankle once. And that's how I found that out. Shane said, stupid knife story. I traded my first pocket knife for 10 laps around the pasture on a mini bike when I was 10. Instant regret after that ride. Oh, Shane. Oh, that's one of those things that teaches you good, though. That'll learn you good. Here, let me tell you one. A good Cocobolo desk set. Yeah. Yes. Hey, Nomadic Adventures. Good to have you here, man. James Moore, I guess I've got a gentleman's knife with me, Bob. My fancy Richard Rogers Cinco with Timascus inlays and hand-rubbed blade. That sounds, yeah, that sounds gentlemanly as the day is, as gentlemanly as it gets. And I would say a Rogers design adds to the gentlemanliness in its cleanness. Professor EDC says, because a gentleman doesn't gunk it up, right? A gentleman, uh, uses kind of has what he needs and maybe just a little bit more for panache, but like not showy. Professor EDC says, Bob, Jim, fellow junkies, hope everyone is doing well. So what's going on? Boker, I see. They flunked my last test. Okay, Professor EDC, first of all, good to have you. Always good to see you. Interesting about Boker is that it gets the stink from a lot of people. It seemed to have had a very bad QC period, kind of like Benchmade did. But every Boker I've had and every Boker I continue to have has been awesome. Boker Plus, though. Boker Plus, and I know they have a Arbolito brand down in Argentina that makes great fixed blades and bowies and hunting things. And I know they're bringing some manufacturing back here. They do some stuff in China. They do some stuff in Germany. But a lot of the stuff I have is Chinese made, and it's really good. So I'm interested in what flunked your test and what your test was. Redacted, good to have you here, Redacted. Bob, will you be purchasing the Dagger Cinque Dia? I didn't know that Dagger was making a Cinque Dia. I think I have to because I'm Italian. I think it's a moral imperative. It looks right up your alley. A gigantic, over a foot long folding sword. In the box that Dave sent me is a large folding dagger, but I'm not sure if it's that model, so I'll have to check it out. I love the sound of it, though. Jay McConnell says, Professor EDC, same here. Action on the M4 Sherman Barlow was really mushy. This is unfortunate. Kept it because I love the history of the blade, but I'm hesitant to look at too many Bokers. This is vexing to me. I've heard a couple of other people mention the M4 Sherman because it's an expensive knife. It's made from steel that was taken from M4 Sherman tanks, which is cool. So it's got history. Those Sherman tanks, I think they retired them after World War II. Or maybe Korea. But they haven't, there's a lot of history behind them. And I know that they made a limited amount and it was like a big deal. It's like their big deal knife. So it's a little vexing to find out that a number of people I'm hearing, or at least 2 people, I should say, that is a number, 2 is a number, have told me about issues they've had with that very knife. Now, maybe they're more run-of-the-mill knives. Sorry, I think I'm coming down with something. Maybe they're more run-of-the-mill knives are just in a groove and they know how to make those and they just kind of, but they have to dial in the special projects. I don't know, but I'm sorry to hear that. James says, for Halloween, will next week's show feature scary knife stories? Ooh, it could. It could. Here's a scary knife story of my own. I was in college, but I was home for the summer, home in Ohio for the summer, and I worked doing pantry in an Italian restaurant. So making salads, cleaning all the vegetables, making salads, plating desserts, that kind of thing. And I did a lot of big salads, and I would have to clean boxes of lettuce a day. And we had this giant salad spinner that sat on casters on the floor. It was like a 50-gallon, I don't know. It held a lot of water. And in the morning, I would get there at 6 a.m. and I would fill this damn thing up with a hose, which is kind of, it was the only way to get water into the thing. It was all, attached to the sink there, but still it felt weird doing it with a hose. So I'd fill that thing up with a hose and proceed to go through boxes of lettuce. And I would chop off the tail end of the lettuce and throw the leaves in the big salad spinner. And instead of doing it the way they showed me, which is just twist it off like a rabbit's head and throw it in there, twist it off and throw it in there, I, of course, had to do it with a knife. And we had a bunch of the magnetic strips with sets of kitchen knives, with full sets of kitchen knives, 5 of them or so all around. And the ones that no one ever used, but they still got sharpened every week, were the big butcher knives, the big curved scimitar looking butcher knives. So those were the ones I used to decapitate the lettuce. So this one morning I did this. Well, let me back up. The night before, I went with a bunch of friends to a Grateful Dead show. And just to show you how long ago this was, it was 1992, I think, 1992. And incidentally or coincidentally, this summer, I discovered that 2 of my neighbors that I've become friends with were both at that show, amazingly. Anyway, that show was a long day in the sun with all that a Grateful Dead show implies, but I was the driver, so maybe not as much of what a Grateful Dead show implies was in me. And at the end of the night, like 11, we left, and we were already 4 hours from home, and it took like 1,700 hours to get out of the parking lot because it was full of stoned hippies. Kind of like, oh, do we have to leave? I don't think we. How do we get out? It's like, that is frustrating, especially when you're like, people, I got lettuce to decapitate in like 6 hours. Now let's get going. So I finally got on the road, and we're driving along. And of course, all of my friends are passed out, useless, passed out. And every blink of my eye, I'm like, how long was I blinking? Am I driving off? Am I going to kill all my friends tonight? I hope not. That would be the worst way to end a good day at a Grateful Dead show. By the way, I'm not a big fan of the Grateful Dead, but on this very day, the Violent Femmes opened for them, and that was very cool. They flew them in on a helicopter, which was also cool. Or was I tripping? Just kidding. I wasn't. But driving home, all my friends were asleep. I got home, changed, and went right to work. Went right to my job at the restaurant. So I didn't have any sleep, and I was now sober. I had been sober for the drive, but just very tired, and just that sort of feeling when you're floating above air. So here I am. I'm the only one in this kitchen except the chef, who was kind of a jerk. And I got all my lettuce out, got my thing full of water, and I go and I reach for the butcher knife and I pull it down. And my trusty butcher knife, I start shing, shing, shing. Suddenly, like these lettuce heads are like people that I'm thinking of that I'd like to retaliate. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm chopping, and then suddenly, why is my finger warm? This water is very cold. Why is the finger? I looked down, and I had cut my forefinger in such a way that it went like this. I went like this, and the knife was so damn sharp. All I felt was, it just felt like a little hit, but it hit, and it hit the bone, and then it went like this. And it turned, and it pulled up a big oval piece of skin, and it just gushed blood everywhere, and it hurt like hell. And you could see just the tip of the bone where it went in, and it was vomitrocious. It was really nasty, and I was in pain, and it was stupid. And I probably could have chopped my finger off if I had done it a millimeter over and got it right between the joint. But the first thing the chef, he runs over, this was 1991 or 2, and he comes over. First thing he says is, "You got AIDS?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have AIDS." He's like, "Okay, go clean it up." I'm like, "Thanks, man." And I was not a snowflake. I wasn't expecting to be coddled or anything, but I was like, man, I almost chopped my finger off. A little sympathy, but then I just felt so stupid that I just did what I usually do, which is wrap something so tight around my finger that it cuts off circulation. And then if it's done with a sharp knife, 2 days, it's healed. I'm like Wolverine. Blame Dexter says, on a brighter note, I'm getting a Microtech UTX 85 with the Hellhound blade tomorrow. That is a bright note, sir. And the Demco AD20S. Oh, titanium scales. Very nice. As well as tomorrow, my Amsler Knives Hurricane Razor will ship. Ooh, I don't know what that is, and I want to, because that sounds cool. I know I've heard Amsler Knives recently. Never Enough Knives 007 says, stupid knife story. I was moving some stuff around on a shelf in the hall closet. Oh, God. And a BK9 slipped out of its sheath and got me point first on the inside of my calf. Ooh. I left a blood trail to the fac. I don't know what that is. But holy mackerel, man, that sounds painful. I have a calf story. I dropped my P-Sark. It's got a curved sickle blade. I dropped it half open once, and it landed in my calf like this, and then the heavy handle went like this, and it just like that. So it was a really nasty and slow motion cut. Stupid on my part. Boker owns Manly, I think, too. Oh, really? Interesting. I think that's a new thing. A relatively new development. Nomadic Adventure says, Bob, full of LSD. Now that's a story. Yeah. Yes, it was. Professor EDC says, Bob, check out my video on Boker flunked the test. I will. I want to know what this was. Was it that same knife? Was it the M4 Sherman? First aid kit. Oh, first aid kit. See? Stupid knife stories. I don't even know what a first aid kit is. Oh boy. Hang on. I want to give away this knife, but let me just tell one more. I wrote a couple down, and this one is my brother's. Actually, I wanted to mention it because of the calf. My brother on I think I've told this story, but it was Father's Day several years back, and he had he had just gotten the Hungless, the SE Hungless, the big knife. And Bob, this thing is sweet, man. He was watching Nothing Fancy, and he was like, I got some stuff to do in the backyard. I'm going to take care of this. And so he goes to the backyard to chop up some wood. And one thing you learn you learn a lot from Filipino Kali, but one thing you do learn is kind of how to get your legs and your knees out of the way with your footwork when you're swinging a knife around, because it makes you very conscious of that, because you'll be using a Kali stick and you'll whack yourself. And if this were a sword or a knife, I would have, chopped my leg off. So you start to get a little bit more conscious of where your legs are when you're swinging a big blade. Well, my brother has never taken Kali, and that was not in his mind. And he had an SE Hungless, which is about the size of this recent impulse buy, the Schrade SCHF 45 Leroy. And he's chopping and he's chopping. And I don't know, this is something he could have taken care of with a saw or something else, but he was using his Hungless, and I get that instinct. And it was, Vic, honey, time to come in. This is Father's Day. There are people waiting for you. All right. He comes in. All right, I'll be right there. And right before he comes in, he misses and buries that thing with all of his force in his calf. It's not funny, but in his calf. And the Hungless, it's a big, heavy, it's 10-inch blade with a full flat grind and built for speed. And it powered into his leg. So that Father's Day was spent at the hospital, and, canceled plans, and food turned to cinder in the oven. So yeah, that was my brother. That was my brother's stupid knife story. Oh, I have a little list here, and I forgot one of them, but I'll remember. It had to do with my birthday. Nomadic Adventures, training knives can't express the importance of them. No duct tape over the edge. Yeah, that's true. And not a safety blade. Yeah, yep, yes. Training blades are good. But yes, they are good. Especially for training with other people. Shane says, stupid knife story. I put a razor sharp edge on a coworker's knife out of kindness. A week later, he assaulted me and tried to cut me. What? Shane, okay, you got to elaborate. That's crazy. Son of a gun. That's not a very nice thing to do. Professor EDC, stupid story. I was trimming a couple of trees, took me all day, was tired, been cutting with my hatchet and machete. The machete had pretty much lost its edge, was already grouchy because of the... Oh boy. All right, we'll find out where this goes. But any story that has a dull... I've been cut with a dull machete. Anderson's Martial Arts in New York, we used to use live machetes for some training, and it was pretty safe. We weren't going all aggro, but it was to teach you respect for the blade and all that kind of stuff. Well, as you might imagine, these training machetes, which once had sharp edges, were just like serrated knives. Knives, no, they're more like really sharply jimped knives, just from having blade on blade collisions, edge on edge collisions for a couple of years. And I got tagged with a couple of those, and man, it hurts. It's like worse than getting cut with a clean edge. But I'm wondering, Professor, where this story is going, man. All right. So what do you say we give away the Gentleman Junkie knife? And as we do, let me tell you this. This was my 42nd birthday. I think I've told this one plenty of times, actually, but it makes me feel good to know I was 42 at one point, and that was 9 years ago. Holy mackerel. So 9 years ago on my birthday in August, my wife threw me a great party. My wife and I love to throw parties. We love to host and have a lot of people over. She's got a giant family. I have a close family, and and then we have friends and everything, and neighborhood, and we love that. So anyway, I was turning 42, and I used to have a real fondness for tequila, which I lost on my 42nd birthday. She said, come over at 3, and work friends, friends, martial arts friends, neighborhood friends, family. Like, it was a big party. And so she says, come over at 3 and bring a bottle of tequila for Bob. And so everyone who came, I'm like, well, a good host has a shot of tequila with everyone who brings him a bottle. So we did that. And, I was, by the time my boss got here, I was drunk as a skunk, basically. 3 sheets to the wind, as they say. But it continued. That was just, initial buzz jitters. It continued more and more. And I believe I cooked a whole bunch of Italian sausages at one point. I don't remember that part, but I do remember that we all ate it. And then later that night, I was found in the bathroom after my mother-in-law followed a trail of blood. She was cleaning up, and there are tons of people still here. And why is Bob in the bathroom, and why is all this blood on the floor? Well, I had been with my my Spyderco Endura. I had a training tree in the back, an old tree that we cut down that I would just hit with sticks and stuff. And I was doing that with my knife. And I told people I was going after mosquitoes. Ha ha ha. That was really funny. But when I went to stab, no blade guard, and that jimping didn't do it. And my hand went right up onto that Endura blade and sliced all my fingers. And it was so painful. And my brother-in-law, a sober Marine at the time, was like, I'm taking you to the hospital. And I said, you are not taking me to the hospital. I've cut myself a million times. And he said, yeah, but this one is really stupid. And I followed the blood to find you. Didn't go to the hospital, but word to the wise, tequila and going after mosquitoes with knives doesn't work. Stupid story was trimming a couple of trees grouchy because of the tiredness. And in a swing, the machete bounced off the log and landed not on, in my knee, missed the kneecap by 4 millimeters. It's that much. And had 22 stitches. Damn, it didn't hurt much as the sadistic cleaning the nurse did. As the sadistic nurse cleaning the wound did. I bet. Oh, yeah, you got to scrub in there, get all that. Especially you tell them it's with a knife and they'll think it's a rusty one. And you're like, no, my name is Professor EDC. It wasn't a rusty knife, but still they gotta dig in there and clean it out. I was more concerned about my wife, that she was coming back from her evening walk and thought, oh shit, she's really going to get worried. And I saw the rest of my leg in a bloodbath. Oh my God. It's nothing, honey. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. Bob, he now has the titanium orbital socket and is still unemployed. I broke 2 bones in my hand. Oh my God. So, okay, you broke. Well, Shane, if you haven't met Shane is a substantial man. I would not want to tangle with Shane. And this guy had the bad idea of tangling with Shane, and he broke his fist on the guy's orbital. And now he's got titanium there. Don't hit him there again. You got to get the other side if you get in a scrap with him. Well, I'm glad to hear that good prevailed. Nomadic Adventure says, played with sharp objects with caution. Yes, indeed. Play with sharp objects with caution. That is actually important. I tell my daughters that because I have gotten them knives. And here's something I do, which I have strongly warned against. I have stopped doing this because it's dangerous. But walking around absent-mindedly flipping knives, that's how I dropped that P-Sark into my calf. But even way worse is, what if you're walking around the corner absentmindedly, is what I said, and you flip the knife open and your daughter's walking around at the same time? That's stupid. Don't walk around and flip knives. Don't go down the stairs and flip knives. Don't forget that you fell down the stairs and dislocated your left shoulder a year and a half ago. Why don't you just not open knives on the stairs? Why don't you just not open knives when you're walking around? So, to Nomadic Adventure's point, play with sharp objects all you want, but don't be stupid. Okay, let's give away this knife. No walking and flipping, indeed. And definitely, those Bally boys. Those Bally boys. All right, so this is what we're giving away right here. This beautiful knife. Let's take a quick look at it. It's in 14C28N. It's a thin blade with a very thin and tall saber grind. Look at that, what they call Wharncliffe, what I call sheepfoot blade. It is very thin and slicey, and you've got a great point for utility cuts, pull cuts, but also that rounded portion allows you easier access under a seat belt. Though I have the rescue model of this, which has some really aggressive serrations about 2/3 of the way up the blade and an orange handle and a glass breaker. But I got to say, the point, and this is not something that I will say often, but the point is a little too sharp on that knife, I think. Because if it is a rescue knife and you really do want to slip it under a seat belt, that point can still get you. So I'm thinking if you want to use it for that exclusively, you might round over the tip like not the Peace Arc, the police fire, the Peace Arc by Emerson has the sharp point, and then the regular Sark has the rounded tip for rescue. You might want to give it that treatment if you were to buy that knife, but that's all a moot point because I'm not giving that knife away. I'm giving this one away. It has a great pocket clip with recessed screws, flathead screws in a recessed pocket. It's got beautifully kind of ZT 0-200 type scales contoured in this direction. And you've got the beautiful, I really like this pattern here. It's like elongated hexagons. It looks like the boson Higgs field that I saw at that Grateful Dead concert. And it really does pop out with authority. I mean, I am not a big fan of assisted knives, but this one is different. It's way stronger, and it's way more robust than any other assisted knife I've experienced, except for the Swift by Cold Steel, which had some serious design issues. Putting the spring right on the lock spring, I think it had some serious issues. But this comes out in a very satisfying and gratifying way. Very comfortable in hand, and a great knife overall. So let's give this knife away. This is for Gentleman Junkies tonight. We gave away a knife a couple weeks ago. We'll give another one away next week. I am flush with giveaway knives, thanks to Dave. I do appreciate that, sir. All right, let's roll it, Jim. Here it goes. I think we have, and then I will read off who we. Mr. VC256. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Mr. VC256, you have won the Off-Grid Knives Rapid Fire Blackout Wharncliffe. It's a long name, but this is all yours, sir. And maybe you put it in the door pocket of your car. It makes a great, that's where I have mine. It makes a very, I feel very confident and sure having that knife in my car. But that is yours. Congratulations, sure. Off-Grid is becoming the new Cold Steel, says Shane Gables. I agree. A little bit different in that one thing I like about Cold Steel that no one else does really is the preponderance of historical designs that they make in modern processes and materials. Because Lynn Thompson is such a knife nerd and such a history buff and has trained in so many different bladed martial arts. He's got a killer collection, and that's what he would go to when he would design his knives. And so I love Kerry and I love Off-Grid Knives, but we're not seeing him do stuff like this yet. However, I got to say, with this is the Stinger XL. This knife is so awesome. It's a step beyond, I think. I think this marks a leap in off-grid design in that it's nicely contoured. That the knife we just gave away is actually nicely contoured. So maybe I shouldn't include that, but it just has a luxe feel. I love this knife. And it's called the XL, which leads me to believe they'll make a smaller one of this, which would be great because this is a full 4-inch bladed knife. Now, I told Kerry I would go with him all the way, baby. Make a 5.5-inch version of this knife. Redesign the handle a little bit. I wouldn't just increase the size by whatever percentage is going to give you that size blade. Redesign the handle a little bit and make that long dagger blade a little bit longer. And I'm there with you. And to be the new Cold Steel, you got to do that because there just is not much of this happening out on the wider market. Mr. VC says, great, thank you. Perfect. Got no off-grid knives in my collection. Well, sir, I'm happy to be the first to send one to you. I know you will like it, and I'm happy to tell Kerry that I'm sure his knives are all over the world, but happy to tell him it's going to you, sir. Excuse me for all the coughing. Nomadic Adventures says, almost lost an index finger, not that that's funny, on a tactical folder during real-life applications. Way hard use folders for work. Why hard to use Why hard to use folders for work? I think that's why to use hard to use folders for work. So what happened, man? That sounds awful. What kind of knife was it? And what kind of usage would get it to fold? I'm curious about that because I always wonder that, because, for most cutting purposes, you're pushing against the stop pin. So even if you have a non-locking blade, it shouldn't close on you. But as soon as you start using the point and applying pressure that way, I guess all bets are off. Because if you have a weak liner lock or something and you exert too much downward pressure on that point, yeah, it's going to fold. That's the weak point there. So I'm just curious how it happened. Nomadic Adventures. Here's another stupid knife story. I went to a party. I was living in Bushwick, Brooklyn. This is when it was first being gentrified, and they were trying to sell it as Williamsburg, and they were calling it like East Williamsburg, I think. And that was like the super hip, expensive part of Brooklyn at that time. Still is. I almost missed you again, said Mike Flamian. Well, Mike, good to have you with us, sir. We're talking stupid knife stories. And in this particular one, I went to a loft party. I lived in a really cool building in at the time, a sketchy neighborhood. So the people on my floor, we all bonded. We were all somewhat young, somewhat artistic, and we all bonded. And the next door neighbor was having a party, and another next door neighbor was going to be there, and I had the hots for that next door neighbor. And so we're there, and we're partying and such. And the guy who owns the apartment, or whose apartment it was, like, hey, check out my sword cane. And so I proceed to clear a space, and I flip it around, look at all the cool kali I can do. And instead of resheathing it in the cane, I sheath it in my calf. My calves get a lot of damage from knives, come to think of it. And then I slowly walked out, and it was really bubbling. It was just bubbling blood out like crazy. But anyway, before we put too much space between us and the knife giveaway, I do want to thank all the patrons, all of our Gentleman Junkie patrons and people who participated in this. So Jim, would you mind putting up the placard so I can read off some names? I don't have them committed to memory, unfortunately. So thank you, Gentleman Junkie patrons, and actually all patrons and all viewers. But since we just gave away this Gentleman Junkie knife giveaway knife, I'm going to read off the Gentleman Junkies. 9198 David, Ben Belkin, Byron Kennedy, Caleb Townsend, Cam Michael, Colin Maison-Pierre, Edwin Callow, Ezekiel Yates, Francis Valère, Gordon Tillman, Grim Reaper, Hero Sticks, Jay McConnell, Jared Strasbach, Jesse Tellis, we got Jock, John Ladner, Jose Omar Razak, Kay Mason, Kevin Moore, Kevin Seastrom, Larry Elizondo, Martin Gamboa, Mitch Ochoa. Those rhymed. I mean, that sounded really good. Mr. VC256, congratulations, sir. Nathaniel Conway, Never Enough Knives 007, On the Edge 72, Scott Nelson, Sean Curry, Timothy Becker, Tong Kim, Will Boyer, Yuval Peleg, Zachary Roberts, and Zach Williams. Thank you, one and all. So greatly appreciated. You make this possible to a great extent, and it's greatly appreciated. So I can't wait to get this knife out to you, sir, Mr. VC 256, and then also can't wait to announce what the next giveaway will be. But before we get to the next Knife Junkie patron giveaway, we'll do a giveaway just for all comers, as they say. Nomadic Adventure says, "Yep, used it in a stabbing motion. Hit plate carrier, knife folded up, gloves saved finger." Egads, man. Wow. It sounds like a pretty, that sounds like a pretty death-defying, terrifying, life-threatening situation if you're using a stabbing motion and hitting plate armor. So glad you made it back. Thank you for your service. Have a Knife Day says, California Custom Knife Show is this weekend. Can't wait to see what's on the tables. Oh. I want to see something cool. So Have a Knife Day is one of my go-tos for sweet fixed blade knives. Also, thank you for your service, sir. But he's got a sweet SOG collection, and hit me to the only SOG website, which is drool-worthy and has some pretty cool historical examples on it, as well as modern SOG knives. So there you have it. Well, let me know if you have any other. I got one. This isn't really a stupid story, but I just call it stale bagel, dull butcher knife. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and we had a great bagel shop, as you might imagine, right down the stairs and like a block away. We always had bagels. The person I was living with and I always had bagels, and they were always in some state of stale or non-freshness, because you get a dozen and then they last a couple of days. You eat them for lunch, that kind of thing. So one day, it was the last bagel, I guess, because it was the last bagel I ate out of that batch. And I'm standing over the sink, and I've worked plenty of restaurant and cafe jobs, and this is how I cut a bagel. Hold said bagel, cut said bagel, flip, and boom. And I did that this time. Bagel was hard like a rock. Knife was big, but dull as hell. And I was not, this was a long time ago, and I did not have any sort of sharpening game to speak of. And so I just started, but still a love for knives, no doubt. But I started powering through this bagel, or tried to, and it just glanced right off. And I still have the scar, actually. I'm going to show it right here, right by my wrist. Yeah, you can't see that, can you? All right, I can see it in person, but nasty scar right there. A dull knife is the most dangerous knife in your house, and that proved to be true. It almost cut my good bits on my wrist, just gushed blood and made me angry because my girlfriend was like, "You shouldn't cut bagels like that," and I'm like, "I've been cutting bagels like this for years." I said something like I just said to you. I've worked so many cafe and restaurant jobs, and lo and behold, right in front of her. Damn. I have been right since, but it's been very rare. Professor EDC says, another stupid story. I was flipping and playing with my new PM2 in S110V, and it kind of flew, and it kind of felt like Jerry Rice, and I saved the tip of my blade. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you caught it, and I hope it didn't catch you. Chris McNair, how you doing, Chris? Good to have you here. Hey, Bob and Jim, just made it. Long day at work. I'll be at California Custom Knife Show as well. I can't wait. Well, I'm glad you're off of work, sir. It's it's good to have you off work and joining us. Bob, are you going to the New York Custom Knife Show in Nashville? I love that. It must be the Nashville November. I'm planning to make the trip. No, I was not. This is crazy that the New York Custom Knife Show is now in Nashville. How funny is that? Because a lot of the hipsters I knew in New York are now living in Nashville. How funny is that? Brooklyn and bagels. Location, baby. You got that right. No, I am actually not, Shane. But that sounds like an awesome That sounds like an awesome trip to make. The first knife show I ever went to was the New York Custom Knife Show when it was in Times Square at the DoubleTree Hotel many years ago, and I saw and met Al Polkowski, who's one of my favorite fixed blade makers from back then, and he was a salty old guy, and it was cool meeting him nonetheless. Have a Knife Day says all the veterans getting ready to do the restaurant crawl for Veterans Day. Very nice. Excuse me. Very nice. Keep your head about you, sir. I know you don't need me to tell you that. You who was a man out there serving, but still, those restaurant crawls can be deadly. So I want to show off my Tempest pinion. I know you all know what it looks like because you all got one too. But who out there is absolutely loving the action of this? This is the kind of action I prefer. On a bearing style knife, I like action that does this. It drops part of the way, and then you just gently coax it. I'm going to do it over here. It makes more sense. I love this. Excuse me. And then the sound it makes in the detent is so pleasing. This is a great knife, and I have to say, it did not immediately strike my fancy until I got the prototype and saw it in person, really, and held it in hand. Man, it feels good, and I love the way that blade looks. I like the way it looks better in person than in pictures, I gotta say. And man, does it cut beautifully. So I really love this knife, and I want to congratulate KC for a very successful outing on this one. And also goes to show, he made the Mach 51 prototype, and that did not get fully funded. But it just goes to show, you just do it again until it works. And man, he knocked it out of the park. So congratulations, KC, and congratulations to me for having this really, really cool knife in my Carta. All right, Jim, what was James's comment I saw? Mr. James Moore says, Friday Night Blade Affair and the California Custom Knife Show are this weekend. What is Friday Night Blade Affair? Oh, you mean FNBA? FNBA? Friday Night Blade Affair. That just sounds kind of scandalous. Chris McNair says, my cousins and I found a double-edged dagger with a chromed handle and chromed metal sheath in a riverbed 40 years ago. First knife, and I still have it next to all my other knives, bent blade and all. How cool is that? How cool is that? So when I was little, I don't know how old I was. I was small enough that a railing on a dock was up here, was about this high for me. And I'm 6 foot, almost 1 these days. So I was young, I guess. And it was a local farm that they had opened up to the public so kids could go and pet the things and see the things and go over bridges and that kind of thing. And they had a dock, and we're walking out the dock. I'm with my mom. We're holding hands, and I'm running my hand along the railing, and she stops. Stop. And I look up at the railing, and there's a knife stuck in the wood handle like this, and my hand. And at the time, I thought I almost cut my hand off. And my mom, there's a little bit of a Freudian slip for you. My mom was so pissed, and she's like, "This is my knife now." So I put it in her purse, and then that knife lived in our garage for the rest of eternity, and it got used for every dirty job. And it was my throwing knife for a while. Everything with that knife. So similar, and probably about the same time frame, or actually a little bit longer ago, 40 some odd years ago. Shane Gable says, American Blade Works Model 1 version 6 in 64 HRC Magna Cut, now available at Knife Joy. Go get one. You'll thank me. No doubt. First of all, American Blade Works Model 1 is awesome. I have the 5. The 6 is even better version. But in Magna Cut at the HRC that is even higher than what's recommended by the factory, but where people are finding it does best. Go get it. Knife Joy. Mike Flamian says, and thanks, Shane, for the heads up. Mike says, I put my Quantum in my pocket, and it was not closed for some reason. Muscle relaxer from back surgery, and stabbed my bits. Oh, my God. Well, the right one. Mike, that is everyone's nightmare here. This is what I was alluding to earlier. Holy mackerel. Well, I'm glad that's in the past. I don't know what else to say, man. That sounds terrible. I hope you took that knife and threw it off a cliff into a lake. Just not Lake Mead, where they're finding all sorts of stuff. What was that last comment? I think I was blabbing over it, Jim. Have a Knife Day says, junkie gathering at a California custom knife show. That would be awesome. Meet the maker and some blade bidding. Oh, man. Meet the makers and some blade bidding. So what are you looking to get? What are you looking to get? There's got to be something there that you're fixing to bring in. Speaking of fixing to bring in, my Bowie phase marches on apace, but I think it seems to be slowing down. I think this purchase did it. This is the Schrade Leroy, the SCHF 45, and it's good. I like it, actually. I got it I love the blade shape, and it got a lot of good reviews, and it's inexpensive, and I'm a junkie, and I wanted it. So I got it, and it is good, and it's going to stay in my Bowie collection. Honestly, I got it thinking I needed a car Bowie, but it's got to be inexpensive in case, I lose it or it gets broken into, that kind of thing. So a car Bowie. So I doesn't everyone need a car Bowie? So that was my justification for buying this thing. And it's got some issues. HCR13 MOV is one of those issues, but it strops up and sharpens up so quickly. I was banging on this on a stump out back, and it got dull pretty quickly, as expected, only in the sweet spot where I was doing most of the stuff. But got it back with my triangle sharp maker and my strop, and it's razor sharp. Look at so this has some issues, some quality issues. I mean, look at the Schrade. Maybe they intended to have it at that angle, but something tells me the Schrade is really supposed to be parallel to the spine and not at, -7 degrees from the spine or whatever that is. So that's a little annoying, I got to say. What else is a little annoying is this otherwise awesome sheath, which is made out of some heavier than Kydex sort of plastic, has this lame dangler on it. It is a belt loop. I guess it's not a dangler, but it's a fixed belt loop that cannot be removed unless you saw it off, which is something I'm considering. The opening here for the belt is just big enough to accommodate like a regular belt that you might just wear. What is this, 1.5 inches? 2 inches. It's a 2-inch belt loop. So with a knife this heavy and a sheath this heavy, a loop that is fixed to the blade and has no movement and is rigid is just going to be murder on the belt. It's just going to suck to carry. This is not a knife I ever intend to carry. This is the kind of knife I bring outside in the sheath and I put on the stump, and then I do a fire pit or whatever, or I bring it out to weed whack or whatever, but it's, the sheath isn't on my belt. So not much of a concern, but that aspect of it kind of sucks. A good thing, this rubberized grip, which I thought I would hate, I don't. It really does absorb a bit of impact when you're using this as a chopper. I must admit, though, I have considered making my Carta scales for it just for fun and just to step it up a little bit and then maybe make a different sheath. This sheath, it's like they did a good job and then they got to the top and they ran out of money and ideas and interest. And they're like, just mold it right on there. And then, yeah, give them some sort of a strap thing, and that's what they did. But hey, you're paying $53 for a Bowie knife. It is 10 inches and it is a big, it's a big tool. And so, I guess you get what you pay for. It's just that sometimes you get a lot more for $53. Anyway, not upset. Just I'm about as whelmed as I expected. Not over, not under, just about as whelmed as I thought I would be. Chris wants an American blade work, though. Must buy the 20 CV. May just buy the 20 CV. Well, 20 CV is no slouch steel, and he's no slouch maker, so I think he'd be in good stead with that. Have a Knife Day says, looking for something that will sing to me. Have to see it first, but nothing in particular. Maybe a Randall? How about, excuse me, how about a sub-hilt fighter? Do you have any of those? It seems like that might be up your alley. Professor EDC says, I got a car short machete. Does that count? Yes. Yes, I like that. I like that. In my car, I have a go bag, like a get home bag in case I need a get home bag. And in it, I have the GI Tonto full tang cheapo from Cold Steel. It's kind of a similar thing. It's like a short machete. And it's just good to have something like that in there. Yannick Bice Lynn, good to have you with us, sir. Stupid knife story. Some years ago, I sliced my pinky open all the way when practicing the Spidey flick with my PM2. Even worse, I had to write a test the next day. Hurt like hell. Damn, man. Yeah, that's an insult to injury, right? The insult is you got a test to take, and the injury, well, there you go. Earlier this year, I purchased a Microtech folder, old new stock. Very nice. Oh, that's cool. I'd like to get a new old version of the SOCOM. I'd love to get an old early 2000s, late 90s SOCOM. Joe Flowers did not design that sheath. No, he did not. Oh my goodness. What a terrible sheath. Ground fog, money, ideas, and interest. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's what they ran out of. You need kind of all those things to keep your sheath game, crisp. Johnny Casada says, "Yo, Bob, I have the shirt you're presently wearing too. I've had it for a month now. Wore it at 2 gigs and a couple of other places. I've had people ask, what does that all mean? Not knowing yet." That's funny because I thought you meant my flannel. I was like, oh, it's a LL Bean cinnamon or whatever it is. But yeah, this is awesome. And I'm assuming since you said gig, you're a rock star of some sort. And to have this on stage, how cool. How cool. People are looking the whole time. They're like, man, this guy can really play. But what the hell does that mean? Is that the set list, or are those like notes? Anyway, that's very cool, man. Have a Knife Day says, I have the Cold Steel Marauder sub-hilt Bowie ×2. Oh, and their OSS. I love the OSS sub-hilt Bowie. I hated the Marauder. I sent it back, and it's a rare Cold Steel that I send back. I've only sent one other Cold Steel back. And that was that Dagger like folder. I can't remember what it's called, but it's kind of wide. Counterpoint or counter tack or something like that. Yeah, the Marauder. The Marauder was way weight forward. The Marauder is a fighting Bowie. It should be balanced closer to the guard, but this was balanced like a chopper because they did not do a hollow grind. They did a full flat grind, and that made that just too much steel up front. So I had to get rid of it. Chris McNair says, going straight to Protect to see if they've got any deals. Then I'd like to find an affordable custom EDC fixie. I think that's a great idea, Chris. A custom EDC fixed blade knives are a great way to support custom makers and not totally blow the bank, because we all know that folders take more engineering, oftentimes more precious materials, unless you're dealing with an art knife and that kind of thing, and just a longer process. So we spend more on our custom folders, but man, there are a lot of custom fixed blades out there that are amazing and that are very reasonably priced. So good luck. I'm rooting for you. I want you to find something super cool. Oh, yes, of course. I wanted to talk briefly about the new Kershaw product reveal. Before we go, I want to bring up this. It's okay. I guess Kershaw is now doing, or Kershaw, as Advanced Knife Bro calls them, Kershaw. Kershaw Knives has taken on Spyderco's sort of reveal pattern, and they are now releasing knives and reveals. I guess that makes sense if you want to take the pressure off. Who knows? Maybe they'll actually put out a ZT one of these days in one of these reveals. But anyway, here is the reveal for Kershaw. And you have this knife here, this first one on top, the Noventa, which looks a lot to me like the Sinkovich designed, very inexpensive Sinkovich designed flippers that I'm not remembering the name of now. But they had the same sort of, I hate to say it, cheap looking engraved steel with the black lines coated in there. It's just, to me, it looks inexpensive. To me, it looks cheap. And to look expensive, I know that sounds shallow, but out there in the fashion world, they use the term expensive to mean well made. It doesn't necessarily mean dollars spent. And if something looks expensive, it looks like someone labored over it. It looks like someone spent a lot of time on it. And whether it's the design or the build. And here, I can't speak to the build, but the design leaves a little something to be desired. But anyway, and Ben Schwartz says the Noventa is a looker. Yeah, of sorts. 3.3-inch clip point blade and la da 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 da. Next up, though, is an out the front. That's a manual out the front. That means that it slides. See the track on the side with the little button? You're sliding that out the whole way. You're not engaging a spring. Thank you, Jim. You're not engaging a spring and shooting it out. You're sort of just pushing it out. And that's a 2.7, so nearly 3-inch blade. I do think it's an attractive looking Tonto blade. You've got a hollow grind and a flat grind, and I can tell just from where those two grinds meet up front, if it's curved, that back surface is hollow. Yes, sir. So I like the way that looks, and I kind of like the looks of this one. Got a bottle opener on the back, but what I really liked, my pick of the litter, is the one right here. This is the Moon Salt. Funny name, but this is their follow-up to the Lucha. And it is a beautiful shaped. It's like the Lucha, but they changed the shape of the handles, and it is now a drop point. 4.6-inch blade, like traditional balisong should have, and I like the way that thing looks. And then this one down here, the Lucid, I don't know, 3.2-inch drop point blade, HCR13 MOV, FRN scales. Why, Kershaw? You already make this knife. You already make this knife 100 times over. Why this one? That's always the question. Now, I know that Speed Safe sells, and I know that big box store knives sell, and that's why you make those knives. But does that mean that you can't, make them different? I don't know. Anyway, Kershaw is a knife brand that I've basically moved beyond in a lot of ways. That sounds snobby, but I do come back for some of their American-made stuff. The Atmos. Thank you, the Sinkovich Atmos. Shane Gables, congratulations, Kershaw, on giving us D2 2 years too late. Is that 2 years or 4 years? 2 years too late. Yeah, and they're still on that last one, still using HCR13 MOV. Like Frankie and Bird say, they bought like 700,000 tons of HCR13 MOV, right when the company making it was trying to liquidate it, and they're sitting on piles of it. So hopefully D2 becomes de rigueur, or however you pronounce that word, and everyone starts using it. I mean, pretty much everyone has started using it, but hopefully Kershaw and CKRT catch up. All right. One last little news story. This is kind of cute. The Kaiser Halloween knife for 2022. I was honestly unaware that Kaiser does a Halloween knife, but they do. And their knife for 2022 is the charming and probably even better in this size mini Roach. Now, the Roach, I have the original Roach over there, and it is those ergonomics are very specific. And if it doesn't fit your hand, it doesn't fit your hand in a spectacular way. Well, this little version of it, I think, is more ergonomically sound. So I'm happy to see that they use this. Plus, it's got a it's got a hollow ground blade, and it's got the cute jack-o'-lantern cut into it. All the other usual accoutrement, the deep carry pocket clip, the removable flipper tab, which I think is pretty cool. And then you've got that lozenge-shaped opening hole for your Spidey flicks and your slow rolls and your et cetera, et cetera. So if you're a collector of Matt Degnan's Roach model or the Mini Roach or Kaiser's or Halloween knives, you're going to want to check up this dressed-up Degnan Mini Roach, which is the Halloween knife 2022 for Kaiser Knives. All right, people, last thoughts. Let me hear them. Let me see. Do I have any other stupid knife stories? I think I got to them all, though they keep popping up. I have way more of them than I can remember because I've had a lot of knives in my hands for long periods of time, and so and I'm an absent-minded chap. At least from time to time. So there you go. Thanks again for a great show again. Thanks for a great show again. Night, everybody, says Chris. Good night, Blade Ogre. Always awesome to have you here. You wipe down those 9 knives and put them to sleep. They've been working hard all day. Excuse me. Yeah. So any others I'd like to know. Otherwise, we're gonna sign off here real soon. Check out the Dirk Pinkerton interview coming up. I'm really psyched about that. I've had him on once before. This was before we had video, and we had a good conversation then. I would say we had a great conversation this time. And I have a lot more of his knives now and had a lot more to relate to. And he's a fascinating guy and highly, highly respected among some of the best custom knife makers for his ability with a grinder. And I can speak to that because I have that custom Cave Bear, which is perfect. All 4 bevels are perfect. And I've scrutinized and tried to find fault. Professor EDC, just don't understand why Kai is trying to do Kershaw and their ways and ZT retiring the 0640. I don't know. And so on and so on. I don't know. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're back with a reissue. And look, now it's in black. Oh, wow. This is great. I forgot about this knife 2 years ago, and now you're giving it to me in black. Thank you. All right. That about does it. Actually, let me show you this cool little Boker too. This is the Shamshire. Ow. It's so small that it like gashes my palm every time I open it. But it's a cool little switchblade, N690 blade steel and such. It's a cool switchblade from D-Rocket Designs and Boker. And I love this thing. It's a cool little 5th pocket knife. This was also sent to me in that package with the Texas toothpick. I'd say give Boker, another chance, but I trust you, Professor EDC. You put it to work, and it failed you. Hopefully, that's not the case in every case. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me and Jim tonight on Thursday Night Knives. It's a pleasure. It's always awesome talking to you guys and hearing what's on your mind, hearing your stupid knife stories, and just checking in for our weekly hangout. All right. Like I said, Sunday is the Dirk Pinkerton interview, and then Wednesday will be another midweek supplemental, and then bringing it all the way around to next Thursday. Don't forget Thursday Night Knives next week, and we'll do a giveaway for all comers next week. Not sure what that'll be, but it will be cool. Rest assured. All right. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I am Bob DeMarco saying until next time, don't take dull for an answer.